It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. I got a quiz for you. What am I doing? You guessed it. I'm imitating a leader from the document image channel standing on an empty dock, looking in the middle of space, waiting for a truck. Ladies and gentlemen, the more I listen to the senior leaders inside the document imaging channel, blaming all the problems of the industry on supply chain issues, the more crazy I get. And so today I thought I'd do a video and address the insanity of senior leaders inside the document imaging channel talking about how the supply chain issues are the greatest crisis in the channel. And I'm going to tell you something right now. The supply chain issues are not the greatest crisis in the channel. It's a mindset issue. Supply chain issues are a problem, but they're not the crisis. The crisis is that over the last 2 years of a global pandemic, the industry's end users realize they don't need to print near as much as they thought. The crisis for the imaging channel is this: their end users don't need to be oversold and overspec'd A3 equipment. They don't want 5-year leases that are prematurely upgraded. The crisis for the document imaging channel is that they spent the last 2 years of a global pandemic arguing about whether or not they should even deploy an e-commerce platform. The reality is they should be arguing now about how to make it better because they already deployed it. The crisis with the document imaging channel is the fact that over the last 10 years, they've been listening to the same nut job consultants, talking to them about IT services with unrealistic consulting. And very few of them do it, and do it well. The problem with the document imaging channel is that through the last 2 years of a global pandemic, they haven't figured out a way to sell a fee-based IT assessment. They haven't figured out a way to charge for educational services around cybersecurity threats. They haven't figured out how to do any kind of compliance regulation for their end users. After 2 years of a global pandemic, the crisis for the document imaging channel is they'd rather sit in a classroom and learn about managed print services because it's comfortable than focusing on real services that pay them real money. So I strongly suggest, instead of standing on an empty dock, looking out in space, waiting for the truck, look inside your customers' offices for things that you can put in there right now. And those things, well, they might be just services. What services can you put in those accounts that you could charge for and make a profit off of? We got to change the game, folks. This supply chain issue noise and nonsense is a total distraction. And I believe it comes mostly from insecure executives that don't know what their place is in a future with so much less print. They just can't get their head around it. And so they want to keep the entire industry in these consortiums, if you will, of complacency. And the bottom line is, we're not going to change the game. We're not going to move the needle for our end users. We're not going to digitize our end users. We're not going to do any of the things that we aspire to do if we believe right now in our minds that our problem is around supply chain issues. Our problem is around the fact that we've never changed our mindset to become service-focused, service-centric, customer-centric. We're still focused on a product. We're still a product-centric industry. And over the last 5 years, that's been my message. We cannot maintain as a product-centric industry and believe that that's going to be prosperous in a future where the customers are looking for better experiences, and those better experiences are in a digital landscape more and more every single day. And we have to figure out how we're going to monetize that digital landscape. IT services, assessment services, compliance services. You know what the difference is when you talk to a dealer that's really successful in services? I mean, really successful in services. You know what conversations don't even come up when I have those conversations with those folks? Supply chain issues. It's almost like, oh, we forgot to talk about the supply chain issues. Because we were talking about the future. We were talking about what's being delivered from the future to the end users in that dealer's environment. So much more fun to talk about. So much more fun to see the results of that. And sitting in a room talking about how we're so frustrated with supply chain issues. Ladies and gentlemen, If you're a leader in the industry, there's nothing you're going to do about it. You can't go get them to make the machines faster. You can't get the chip people to make the chips faster. You can't get up a ship and go load up your own equipment. There's not a damn thing you can do about it. When it gets to your dock, it's going to get to your dock. But I can tell you this, if you're going to stand on these empty docks, look out into space, waiting on a truck, you're going to miss the boat. And when you hear these people talking about supply chain issues, just ask them, okay, I'm over it. What else can we do? Because it's in the what else we can do that's the future of the industry. Because sooner or later, the supply chain issue is going to get resolved. And then we're going to have a problem. We're going to have a problem because we're going to be oversaturated with supply and less demand. Folks, you'll be giving away equipment. There'll be so many O's after the point, you'll throw your hands up and say, what are we doing? Ladies and gentlemen, the industry's problems are about a mindset. And it's a mindset to go into your customers' offices and look for services that you can charge for, make a profit off of, that have nothing to do with the product. If you can't do that, you're going to continue finding yourself on that empty dock, looking out into space, waiting on a truck. Just some things to think about, my friends, because we all know this. Status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo, and I'll see you all tomorrow.